Hey, I'm glad you joined me today. My name is Bobby. You know, every year when I get ready to start my seeds and I want to use my soil blocker, seems like I always need a little refresher course, or I need to refresh myself on how to actually do the soil blocking. So that's what this video is about. I'll be honest with you, when I originally filmed the video, it's much longer than what you're seeing today. When I was editing it back, I said, this is just way too long and there's way too much talking. So I decided just to give you and myself a little refresher course on soil blocking and just a few basic steps on how to soil block. So I hope you will enjoy this video. So for today, we're going to start our seeds in soil blocks. This is the 20 block soil blocker. They're 3/4 of an inch. Each little soil block is 3/4 of an inch. And we're going to be using the Fort V compost mix. We're going to mix a few nutrients in with it, but I used this last year and I liked it pretty well. But we do have to sift it because we don't want all the large particles in our soil blocks. They do not work well in soil blocks. So we have our sifter here, and it fits right over a 5-gallon bucket. It's very much worth investing in a sifter. It's like $20 or something like that. And of course, I mean, this is going to last forever. So this is what the Fort V looks like. Even though it's pretty fine, we're still going to sift it. And I know not everybody sifts their soil, even with soil blocks, but it's just something I've been doing for the last couple of years, and I'm used to sifting, so it goes pretty quick. I'll take the scoop from Berry & Bird that the Berry & Bird company sent me. We did a video on, and put some soil, some of this compost in here in the sifter. So you would think that you could just take your sifter and sort of do this, but it doesn't really work that way. That's why I have on my gloves. You have to sift it with your hands and just kind of rake it through. And I always keep a bucket nearby that I can put the particles in that I have sifted out. And you can just use those in the bottom of a container or something like that. Use all the undesirable stuff as kind of like a filler. Now you can take the sifter, this is going to be loud, and bang it a little bit on the top of the bucket too as you're getting down here. Take your hand, do that. So those are all the particles from the first batch, so I don't want that in my soil blocks. All right, so we'll clean up our mess here just a little bit. So here's the bucket with all the debris. I did 4 sifters worth of soil, and I got not quite a half a bucket, maybe a half a bucket. It took me about 10 minutes to sift that soil, so not bad. So you can see now it's very fine. There's no rocks. Now let's add some nutrients to this mix. This is green sand and rock phosphate. It just helps give your soil blocking mix some nice body. And we're also going to add some mycorrhizal inoculant. This helps with germination and it helps with root growth. The mycorrhizal helps with the root development as well. So normally if you follow a recipe, and there are soil blocking recipes out there, and I've made up and done exact soil blocking recipes before, and then I've also done some that I just sort of, you know, like the old-fashioned cook, just a dash of this and a dash of that, and it seems to have worked both ways. So it says here 16 cups of sifted, whatever you use, peat moss, cocoa fiber, 4 cups of sifted compost, and a half of a cup of the blocking nutrient mix, but I'm not going to use that much here because, for one thing, I'm not doing the full recipe, so I'm just sort of eyeballing it a little bit. This has sort of the same concept that the Biotone starter fertilizer would have in it, and it helps with the root development. It doesn't really say anything on the back about using it for soil blocks, but it can be used for soil blocks. So now I'm going to take my scoop and just mix it up and try to get it all in there. Most of the time when I've done my soil blocks, I haven't added any nutrients. I just did some last year, and I thought, well, I'm going to continue doing that. But if you want a recipe, you should really, you can go on the gardenersworkshop.com. You can get a soil blocking recipe, and that's, you know, just do it the precise way. That's also a good thing. So a couple of other things we'll be using today. I did get these microgreen trays here, and I saw another gardener using these, and I saw a flower farmer using these, and I sent her a message and said, did you like these? And she said, I really liked these. So I thought, okay, I will try these because I usually use the Styrofoam trays. Let me get one, I'll show you. This is the 3rd year going on these. I bought these from thegardenersworkshop.com, but if you get your meat or whatever on these, you can save them as well. But you can reuse these over and over again, and one of this size tray will hold actually 40 blocks, 2 sets of 20. So I like using these, but I kind of had the idea that these you could water these a little bit differently or easier, because sometimes I do overwater just a little bit and there's a little bit of water left, and you don't want any standing water with your soil block. So I have to pick the tray up and tip it ever so slightly, carefully, and drain the excess water off. So I thought, okay, I might try this and see if this would work. Now we're going to moisten the mix that we sifted. And for your soil blocks, you need a little bit more moisture than you do with cell packs. A good way to test and see if you have enough moisture is to do the squeeze test. And that soil that you see falling, I don't have quite enough moisture yet. We're getting there, but it's not quite enough. You want enough so that your soil blocks will stick together, and I'll wipe off my hand while I'm doing that. Then if you end up getting too much moisture, you can add a little bit more of your mix. Okay, so it's sounding like it's got a good squishy sound to it. So we're going to take our soil blocker and we are going to hold it. We're not going to hold it by the plunger. This is the plunger. If you hold it by the plunger, I keep forgetting about the heat. If you hold it by the plunger while you're trying to put your soil in, you're going to kind of push out your little soil pressers or whatever they're called. So you hold it by either side here. I like to mound up my soil right in the center, and then I'm just going to take my soil blocker and I'm going to just squish it from side to side and squish, squish, squish. That's a good sound. Try to get all of those little blocks filled. Yep, they're all filled. So you see where we have some excess on there. We're going to take, and I just keep a scraper, paint scraper here in my greenhouse, and we're just going to scrape off the excess. You don't want that because you want your little set of blocks to sit flat. All right, so I think we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? 2, 1, 2. That should work. So then we're going to set it down here, and we're going to plunge it up, and I already see where I need to take it out of the, they all came out, but there was just too much give in this tray, and it's too much give underneath here. I'm used to the soil blocks really, making contact with what we're putting them on with the styrofoam trays, so I didn't like that give underneath, so I'll probably just set it down flat and do it like that so there won't be so much give. So that's one little strike against these trays already. All right, we'll see. All right, so we remounded up our soil, and we're going to just go back and forth. Okay, now we've got it all filled up, and we'll take our paint scraper. We'll just scrape off the excess. What I'm going to do is just put this more flat here. You make it so you can see it, and see if that helps with it not giving so much. And we plunge down. That worked a little better. So there we go. The little tray redeemed itself a little bit. All right. And everyone kind of has a different method when they're doing their soil blocks. As long as you get the basics right about it, I think you're doing good. You really know you've got your soil moistened the right amount when you hear that squishing. That's what we want to hear, is the squishing. And it really helps if you make a little mound in your soil. It helps you get your soil blocks filled. And if you get one that doesn't have enough soil in it, you just take, your hand, whatever, put a little bit extra in there. Just make sure those soil blocks are completely filled. Give it a little wiggle, and there we go. All right, one more. Okay, so we'll take the last ones here and plunge them down. Give it a little shake. Make sure they all come out. And there we go. If your soil wasn't moist enough, they would not come out of the blocks. It just would be a mess. So those are ready. There's 80 there. So I think you can see in here, I still have some soil left. If I don't get to use it all today, that doesn't matter. It can still be used. It'll dry out, but I'll just re-moisten it. And when I'm done for the soil blocker for the day, I always wash it and dry it really well. And when I can think of it, I'll wash these tools off or wipe them off and dry them as well. So, but it's definitely important to wash your soil blocker off when you're done with it for the day. One of the things that kind of tripped me up when I first started soil blocking, I think this is the third year that I've been soil blocking, but one of the things that tripped me up a little bit was I said certain flowers I didn't need 20 of. So I said, you know, I don't really need 20 such and such. I can't even remember now, but it kind of tripped me up and I couldn't wrap my brain around, okay, well, you don't really have to fill all of the soil blocks. You don't really have to do that. So that kind of set me free a little bit. Or if you do go ahead and sow all the soil blocks, you know, you don't always get 100% germination. So it's probably best to go ahead and fill all the soil blocks, which I do. But I just kind of felt a little bit more free after I realized, well, if I don't, you know, fill up all the soil blocks, it's okay. My extra soil that has been sifted but not moistened is still in the bucket. So I'm going to put a lid on that so I can remember that this is sifted soil and just keep it kind of dry. As I said, the soil that we moistened can stay right in the potting tray. It's totally fine. We will re-moisten it when we want to use it. I think that's everything I needed to say. It's supper time and it's also getting a little chilly out here in the greenhouse. So we'll see you guys in another video. Bye-bye, friends.